Join me in welcoming our sisters and brothers in the fight and the revolution. So welcome Tara Thompson, Tef Poe, Rika Tyler, and T-Dub-O from St. Louis, Missouri. Come on, give them a Bay Area welcome. A California welcome, I should say. I know all y'all not from the Bay Area. Testing. All right. All right. So it does feel a little awkward us having a conversation on the stage, considering normally we just have it at a regular table. So I think one of the things that I just wanted to do was just to create a little conversation for us to think about, this idea of resistance. And oftentimes when we talk about the public safety system and we talk about policing and we're talking about changing the whole reality, oftentimes, the way in which sometimes we talk about it is just a silver bullet. And while we know resistance and direct action is an incredible part of the story, we also know that there's a lot more that needs to be done. That's one of the reasons why we're gathered here today. But felt like it was important for us to remember kind of the flashpoint that for a lot of folks really brought this story kind of front and center, that we had a really deep challenge and problem in the system. So I want to just kind of ask you all some questions, and maybe you all can get some feedback. The other thing I want to offer for you all is, if you have a question that's rising up for you as we're going through this time, please write your question down, and we're actually going to go open up the floor for some time after for some Q&A, so that we can have some interaction and some conversation. One of the things, my biggest takeaway from being in Ferguson when we were there, which feels like 10 years ago or something, I feel like I have so many miles on me now, can't imagine how many miles y'all feel like y'all have on you, is being able to learn about the story from real people. And just being able to hold the fact that there's multiple stories and multiple truths out there. So first question I will put out to Tara, you all's uprising went worldwide, was the flashpoint that awakened global consciousness to the breakdown of the public safety system. From your view, what was going on in St. Louis, Ferguson area? And folks might need a little background in that whole municipality foolishness, but what was going on that created the climate where subsequently you all responded, and what was experienced by folks around as being a flashpoint?
Peace, y'all. Y'all look good. Can y'all see me? So the same things, like some of the things that y'all heard mentioned in, let me back up, municipalities. They consolidated some to make the problem appear that it is being corrected, but in fact it is not. So we started in 92 and we're now down to 89, 90? 90 municipalities in St. Louis County. So St. Louis is made up of St. Louis County, and there are 90 municipalities in St. Louis City proper. And so these 90 municipalities have their own police departments. For the most part, they've now consolidated some, like I said. So they have their own police departments, they have their own mayors, they have their own city halls. So if we're driving down West Florissant, which runs the length of the city, I could drive through if I start east, drive through the city of St. Louis, and by the time I get to the border of St. Louis County, I could drive through 5 municipalities without ever leaving this street, right? And so if I have a broken tail light and I get pulled over in Ferguson for this broken tail light, I could then get pulled over in Delwood for this broken tail light. I could then get pulled over in Florissant for this broken tail light. I could then get pulled over, and I'm just trying to get to work, right? Like we're not doing extra stuff. Like I'm just trying to get to work. And so you have a debtor's prison in which if you can't pay to get that tail light fixed, then now you have a warrant out for your arrest because I couldn't pay to get my taillight fixed, so I can't pay for this ticket. So now I have a warrant for my arrest, and so at any point, I could be pulled over and taken to jail for something that started as a broken taillight. And so it's basically a system of a debtor's prison and poor people's prison. It's the taxes on being poor. Like when you get your insurance bill and it says you can pay this 6 months, or you can pay this 1 month, but I'm gonna charge you an extra $3 if you can only pay this 1 month, right? Like it's poor people taxes. And so that's what the system in St. Louis is built on, which is the same system that is built where you all live. So the climate that caused Ferguson is people tired of being pulled over 5 times for their broken taillight, people tired of not going to be able to pick up their homeboy without being harassed or pulled out of the car. People tired. And you lynched this boy and left him out for 4.5 hours in an apartment complex. Canfield is an apartment complex, and you can see, I mean, if you're on this side of the street, you can see across to this side of the street. So not only have you murdered this boy, you have affected this entire community, right? Like we got kids outside looking at this body saying, what happened to Mike, right? Like this mother can't approach her son. This nurse that is trying to administer, offer CPR is told, get the fuck back or she's gonna be arrested. You bring dogs out, which everybody knows, you bring dogs out, you're declaring war. Like, dogs, poor people, like no, that's you said we coming in here and we are declaring war. So night one, when you have this body laying out, and then you come with dogs, and then you come with gas, and then you all because we want to know why you murdered this boy. And like you heard Rika and Dub say in the video, Mike Brown wasn't the first one. He wasn't the first one murdered in Ferguson. He definitely is not the first one murdered in St. Louis City. And people were tired.
Tef, you and Dub and others were artists on the scene in St. Louis. Some of y'all have been organizing. Some of y'all have been doing other things. Some folks were doing both. Can you speak about, like in the early days, and maybe even throughout the whole process, what was it that you all found? It's one of the things that stood out to me the most when we all got the privilege and blessing to meet you all, was the sense of how everyone was coming together so much, and different folks from different walks, backgrounds, experiences were coming together. Can you speak to us around, like, you know, what caused that? What fueled that? What caused people to come together that normally wouldn't have been together, and what caused y'all to stay out there in the way that you did?
I mean, my enemy's enemy is my friend, you know? So it really just broke down to that. It's funny that I don't know what to call it, the overlapping movement that came in on top of the foundation that the communities had built, they came in with more of the separation and more of the well, you in this box, you in this box, you in that box. For us, we black, we poor, we from the ghetto. So, and then the police, they the ops. If you got anything to do with the police, you one of the ops, flat out. So we didn't have to have this like deeply intertwined political science and you gotta come slap this principle on here and this theory on here that hasn't even worked. What we concretely know that work is that poor people uniting against the system causes them to have a long day in hell. That's what we knew worked. So we didn't need to have like the wannabe Stokeleys and the fake ass El Haj Malik Shabazes and the, you know what I mean? Like it was just, are you black? Are you oppressed? Then let's get it, flat out. And I think that was harder. That's harder for a lot of people to understand because it isn't as spit shined and as polished as they would like for it to look. People's talking points aren't going to be as politically correct as you want them to be. The strategy isn't going to be as intricate as you might think it should be. But at that point in time, the community was responding from more of a position of emotional trauma. And I also think that for something like Ferguson, there's no better experience than learning on the job. So if the police come in here right now, I don't know what everybody else in this room gonna do, but I know what these 3 individuals gonna do. I know exactly what they gonna do. You know what I mean? I know who gonna make sure they free so they can get the rest of us out of jail. I know who gonna help protect us if we have to pull people back. And this is not something we discussed. This is something that happened naturally out of the correlation of those experiences.
So Tef is speaking about some of those experiences. Rika, what can you speak to? So y'all have these experiences. What also were some of the challenges? He named like some of the outsider folks coming in and that being some of the challenges. But what were also some more of the challenges that you all found in your, what I'd like to call your struggle for freedom locally where you live? What were some of the challenges that you found just within that, and maybe even challenges that you found in other different groups of folks who were from there that made it more challenging in the struggle that you all were trying to achieve?
I would like to say all skin folks and kin folks. And what I mean by that is we were out in the community and it looked all flashy and cool out there, but like Tef said, it was times where they would be in jail and people we thought was gonna ride with us and be for us will be out living life or whatever. And I mean, it's very eye-opening because, I mean, trust is a big thing. Like, if I can't trust you, I can't fuck with you, and that's how it is. And it's a lot of people who hate us on the low. Like, they'll get close to us, try to be by us, be cool, quote unquote, to get information, to plot against us, to just see like what we gonna say or how we gonna respond to some things, but it's all hatred. And I honestly can speak hands down, like, I didn't even know these people on August 10th, but when I stood by all of them and I got a picture, it's all of us like all in the same vicinity. Like, I'm literally this close to them on the picture. So that just naturally happen. Like, I try to like think like, how did I get here? How did this like happen? Like, it just happened naturally. And I love all of them. I didn't even know half of them, but like we went into Walmart and it's all pictures because I be looking through all these pictures like, damn, we straight was like rocking with each other. Like, we walking through Walmart, chanting everything, like we known each other all our life. And it's like my own family who I've been family with all my life for the 22 years that I've been born that I can't even look at and talk to, but I can talk to them about that stuff. So it's really about trust and it's about loving each other and really riding with somebody. And then in the community, honestly, like, everybody wants to be at the top. When they said, like, they weren't even looking at the bigger picture. So if Tara and Tef flew to Brazil, people like, oh, why they flew to Brazil? They stealing money for the movement. Like, just stupid shit like that. And I'm like, why can't y'all just be happy that they're going to Brazil, telling what's going on down in our city, learning stuff from her, and they're going to bring it back to us. But people don't look like that or think of it like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a lot of haters in the world. People need to just try to go look in that mirror and say, hey, let me focus on me and mind your business. That's why I like to tell people, just drink water and mind your business. And I wish if I could go back in 2014, I wouldn't have been as nice as I was because I was really, really nice, but very nice. Like, I'd be like, oh, let me talk about this. Oh, don't be talking about me and Tara. What's wrong? Can we think of, like, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my face. And that's just honestly what it is. But 2 years of bullshit will have you there. I'm going to tell you that, and that's all it is.
All right. Dub, y'all resisted for, was it 100 days?
Nah, it was way more than that. It was
Of the consistent?
consistently, yeah, it was like 100 and, it was close to 200 days.
Closer to 200 days of consistent protests and direct action. So, a couple questions I'll ask one question in that. So first, like, how was that possible, right? And maybe as you're answering that is, I think the deeper question I'm asking is, what were the necessary commitments that you all had to make to each other in order to live into that consistency? Because, some of us can't brush our teeth 200 days straight in a row, right? So, to be engaged, that deeply for 200 days in a row, how did y'all do that? And can you speak to the kind of community that was necessary for y'all to build in order to sustain that kind of activity?
Get y'all some gangbanger friends. and I'm being completely honest, like I ain't making no joke. When you look at Ferguson and what took place out there on the streets, it wasn't the Stokeleys or the D-Rays or those people that you've seen all over the media. It wasn't no national organizations that was leading that was throwing back tear gas that kept that active. It was niggas in the street. It was single mothers. It was unemployed people. It was gangbangers. It was drug dealers. It was people that was lost and forgot about by the system and forgot about by our elders, who people looked at don't have a chance. The ones that you look when you walking down the street and you say they're gonna end up dead or end up in jail. That's exactly who it was. So if you want to sustain a movement like that, or you want a real mass revolution of the oppressed people, get in tune with the streets. Because I say this time and time again, there will be no revolution and no liberation of the oppressed people without the streets involved. It's not going to happen. Besides that, Hennessy. A lot of Hennessy. And we had to heal some way, but I just think lack of fear of limitations. We all seen a bigger picture. We got tired of being complacent with our so-called freedom, the so-called victories that we had in the past. We are the generation who refused to be content, who refused to conform, and looked around and said, you know what, this is not enough. This isn't right. And even if we got to put our life on the line to change it, we're going to do that. And I think the conditions that we grew up in is what created that. A lot of people, just getting off topic, but a lot of people are afraid that Trump is in office. And we don't understand why. It's not just me, we don't understand why. When you look at what we went through with Lyndon B. Johnson and the Safe Streets Act, the black codes after slavery, the Nixon administration, the Reagan administration, the Bill Clinton administration that imprisoned over 1 million black men. And you got Hillary running around here, and you got black people supporting her, ready to go to bat for Hillary, and she supported everything that imprisoned our fathers, our uncles, our big brothers, our cousins. So everything that we've gone through, our generation has gone through, the crack epidemic, the heroin epidemic, the gang wars, it created us and made us for this moment. So when a tank rolled down West Florissant and we seen AR-15s and M16s, we wasn't afraid of that because we've been dealing with that our whole life. We didn't have to go to Iraq to go to war, because when I walk outside my house, when I stayed on the north side of St. Louis, it was war right there every day. So we was prepared for it. And that's what kept that type of movement going.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you all one more round of questions before we open it up for some questions to come from the family. So if you all were to get in a time machine, you now, and we're able to travel back to 2014 to you then. You know, it's funny because I met y'all then and then see y'all now. And what would you tell the you in 2014 from now with everything, with all the aspirations of the you in 2014, what he or she was trying to do and think about, et cetera, et cetera. You all have been all across the world. You know, y'all done been to the White House where Obama wanted to tell you about his rug and all that old kind of BS. Y'all can ask him later about that old silly story. But what would you tell yourself?
I originally said I would tell myself to stay home. But, I mean, no, in all seriousness, so I think in times like this, you have to know what you're about and where your allegiances lie and what your morals and what your values are and what are the ingredients of self. And I think a lot of people get involved in this stuff and they don't know the ingredients of self. So they try to use the movement to create that. They try to pull moral and principle and value from the movement. They try to pull identity from the movement. And I'm the person who I was before I left the house. Yes, the movement has enhanced my morals. It has enhanced my values. But at the same time, I knew who I was before I went to Ferguson. Part of the reason I went is because I knew who I was. So I think that looking back, if I had to have a conversation with myself, it would be one that is rooted in I'm sure all of them will tell you that out of all of us, I'm probably the one that's a little bit too much unforgiving towards some of our adversaries. And I've learned now that there is no line, there is no gray area in any of this. So you can't partially uproot oppression. And I think that racism is the only space where we allow people to have these partial remedies. Because if a rapist comes in here right now, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but we ain't got no words for no rapist. If he's proven to be a rapist, I have nothing for you. You know what I mean? That's evil. I can't endorse that on no levels. But we'll partially endorse some racist bullshit and then act like it's cool. And then wonder why situations like that happen. That happened because you've been partially endorsing this evil all your life. And for me, the conversation has changed from assuming and believing that protests can weaken the system, because I don't believe that protests can do a thing to the system. I don't believe that personally. I believe that militant direct action can do something. I believe that clogging up the system in certain spaces and making things ungovernable in certain spaces can do something. But us just all walking outside this room right now to go yell at a building because we pissed off that Donald Trump is elected ain't gonna do nothing. So it looks good, it feels good, it helps us vent. We feel empowered by that, as we should. But the reality of the conversation for a lot of us is, I'm looking at that video that they showed. One of my homeboys in that video is dead. He's deceased. He wasn't dead pre-Ferguson. He's dead because he opened his mouth and consistently chose to speak out. We got another homeboy that ain't even 21. He doing 7 years in prison. You know what I mean? His birthday just passed. His family can't do nothing about it. You know what I mean? I'm harassed by Breitbart people. I made the personal decision. I told Tara the other day, I'm not going to prison, flat out. I'm not the Black Panthers. I'm not Huey P. Newton. I'm not Bobby Seale. I'm not Assata Shakur. I'm not going to prison. So if when it gets to the point within the next 4 years that this becomes the oppressive regime that it's destined to become, they just gonna have to put some hot ones in me, because I'm not gonna let white supremacy have the validation of knowing that I'm sleeping in their jail cells every night. That ain't for me. You feel me?
Tara, 2014, 2016, you're talking to your 2014 self. What's the conversation?
What the fuck are you doing? Let's see, 2014 self. One, I think that, so Dub is absolutely right. Y'all not having there's no revolution without the bangers in the streets, and bangers come in all shapes, sizes, and bang different ways, but is nothing happening without them. So I think my 2014 self is spending more time with them, so that they know that we all saying fuck the police, because, well, we should be saying fuck the police, but so the same reason that Tef said it was organic, people were like, yeah, no, this is enough, we going outside. If I would have scooped up some more of them, because for as good as it was to be organic, and in that moment, there's no way that we could have sustained, close to 200 days without that. Now 2 years later, there were a bunch of young leaders out there on that street that we needed. And so we needed to have been telling them, yeah, we're saying fuck the police, and we need to tell them fuck them because of this and this and this and this. So if I could have 2014 me, which I don't know when, it's only 24 hours in a day, I don't know when we would have done this. But 2014 me, 2016 me is telling 2014 me to go get some more of the bangers. and have them sit in the alley with us at 3 in the morning and have some more conversations with us so that 2 years later, we have as many of them as we did 2014. Yeah, that's probably what I'm doing. Like we had a building where we would host pantries and whatever, and I went before the last pantry, went the day before to clean up around the building, and it's like 30 shell casings outside, a box of bullets or whatever. I see one of the homies coming around the corner. I'm like, hey, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. That was right after the shootout at Rallies. I said, but these kids are going to be up here tomorrow, so there's no shooting tomorrow. If you ain't talked to nobody in the streets, if you ain't been in the streets, you can't have that conversation, right? You're scared to have that conversation. And so that looks like you not being in the neighborhood where you claim to be speaking for and working with and banging for the people that are there. Like those same people that y'all walk past, yeah, that was their dude. Ain't no shooting tomorrow. You can't y'all ask for ceasefires all the time. Like, you can't go to nobody and ask them for a ceasefire that you ain't never had a conversation with. Like, this dude says, hey, I've been looking for y'all. My girl, you know, she came and got a dress from either you or Rika. She came and got a black dress at the last pantry. She got killed. I've been looking for y'all. That was a good day. I've been looking for y'all. They people, just like you and me, they people. And if y'all didn't grow up poor, like so all of the like casual, there is no casual. So if you can't see somebody and see that they might have had challenges and whatever, and they still human, I don't know nobody that sell crack because they want to. I don't know anybody that's like, yeah, let me go fuck up somebody else's life so I can put food on my table. I don't know anybody that makes the choice to do that because they want to. So if you can't look at someone and see right from wrong, then you're never going to be able to push anything forward because you just like cosmetic. Like we could have put all of that strategy and stuff behind it day one and people would have been like, wait, who are you again? What? And what does this word even mean? Because we like to put ism, shism, Baduism on the end of everything. Like, just talk to people.
Rika, what are you telling your 2014 self?
2014, I was 20. Well, actually, I was 19, turning 20. I would tell, Okay, I can be a little nigga, but still. I would tell myself, know your power. The reason I say that is I used to be afraid to use my voice to move people, how they should be moved. Hold on. Josh is 20 years old. He's doing 8 years in Bonserre, Missouri. He used to have a little crush on me or whatever. He used to follow me around. And you know, it was too much going on at the moment. And I knew he needed extra help. And he wasn't guided how he should have been guided. I wish I could have just grabbed him and hugged on him and told him and led him into the same direction where I was getting led to. And I'm not blaming myself because I think everything happens naturally. So maybe it's just a reason that he's in jail. I don't think he should be there, but I wish I could have knew my power to move people, because if I was there to move him how he should have been moved, he wouldn't be there. And that's all I want to say.
Dub, you're talking to your 2014 self. What's the conversation?
I wouldn't have tried to be as politically correct. I think I seen a lot of shit coming from the go, and I let a lot of it slide in hopes of not ruining what was being created. When I got invited to the White House. Telf was supposed to be there, but he ain't never make it off the runway. I still got to speak my mind to a certain level to the president, but I would have flipped the table over if I could go back. I wouldn't have let nobody who wasn't from St. Louis speak. A lot of those national organizations, besides PICO, because y'all know what our relationship is, but a lot of those, like the Black Lives Matter movement, even some of the other organizations that came in and used our pain to propel their own certain agendas and establish those intersectionality conversations and shift the narrative from we black, we poor, we from the ghetto, we tired of this shit and we gonna do something about it. That conversation that they brought in, those agendas, hidden agendas, it split what Ferguson had created. It split the revolution that was budding, and it wasn't a coincidence. It was COINTELPRO all over again. It was the same thing that happened to the Panthers. It was the same thing that happened with the Civil Rights Movement. And we could see it, but we were so focused on just completely being in the streets, die hard for the people, getting gassed every day, standing on the front lines. We didn't take the responsibility that we should have took because we didn't want to have quote unquote leaders and faces. Even though that's kind of what we became anyway, that's not what we wanted. So we didn't take that role initially. And I just honestly wish we had of, because it was real genuine people out there. Like, there's a lot of people that came up from this movement. The 4 people sitting on the stage didn't. Terrell's working in corporate America, living wonderful. Tef lost a record deal and canceled a tour. Rika was a budding college student, assistant to the right then and there, the senator of the Ferguson area, the state senator, Maria Chappelle Nadal. I canceled a tour, a battle tour. I was also selling drugs at the time. I was cool. I didn't have nothing to worry about. I could buy anything I wanted. We sacrificed and lost a lot behind this, and I don't think people really understand that, because there's a lot of people that came up off of the Ferguson Revolution. And I just wish that I could, if I could go back, I wouldn't just talk to me, I would tap all of us on the shoulder and say, hey, that's a fuck nigga, that's a fuck nigga. Don't fuck with them, shut them the fuck up. Don't let them talk. Matter of fact, make them leave St. Louis. When you go here, do this. Don't hold back. Don't be respectful. Say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. And that's the only way that we gonna change something, because being politically correct and being respectful, it's not gonna stop these white people from stepping on our necks.
So we've got a couple mics floating around. Do we have a microphone floating around? Questions? And I'm going to ask us to try to craft a question. Y'all know those of us that go to conferences and stuff, we like to stand up and say, you know, I don't have a question, but I have a comment, right? Or I have a statement, and you had that comment before you came here. You just been waiting for the opportunity to give that comment. You're going to talk about your thing and your thing. All right. Brandon.
Yeah, so was out there with y'all, followed y'all leadership and in action at the Muni, I think that's what they call it. I noticed a lot of respect and trust between allies. I had white allies, Asian allies. I hadn't seen something so detailed and raw. I'm gonna stop right there. So my question is, number one, how do you build trust with folks across the board? I mean, this is a bit of a nuanced, more kind of nebulous, but yet nebulous question. Like, how do you build trust? And then the other thing is holding folks accountable. Because in this movement, people do a lot of, I'm going to be politically incorrect, fuck shit, and we don't hold them accountable, and that's why our shit splinters. So how do you hold each other and then also other folks that y'all moving with accountable?
Well, for one, if you're in a so-called revolutionary moment with somebody, you can't be afraid to have difficult conversations. A lot of people try to make movement-related things, black liberation-related things look like they're peaches and cream. But we quote the ancestors and the forefathers and the foremothers all day long. How many times do I go to a meeting and I hear somebody quoting Assata Shakur? How many times do I go to a meeting and I hear somebody quoting Stokely Carmichael or using the framing of something that Malcolm did to direct their steps? But that framing comes with a hell of a lot of discipline and a hell of a lot of tutelage and a hell of a lot of studying and a hell of a lot of developing. So like these principles didn't just fall out the sky. They're not rap lyrics that you can just pick up and slap on a hoodie and say, all right, I'm living according to that. That's just not how that works. So there has to be a lot of intentionality around, understanding, for one, if we're serious about this, then this isn't a brand new movement. We're plugging in where the ancestors left it at, right? And then we're gonna run the ball as far as we can run it, and then somebody else is gonna pick it up and plug in where we left it at. And if we do our job correctly, then we create a culture of resistance. We create a lineage of resistance. That's what they did. That's what the BLA did. That's what the Black Panthers did. To some extent, that's what the Nation of Islam did. That's what SNCC did. That's what CORE did. So we are inserting ourselves into the historical context of black resistance. So we start with that. When we start with that, we have to say, okay, well, what were the morals and the things that they built that upon? And what are the morals that we're gonna bring to the table to add to what they put already on the table? How are we gonna further develop that politic? So with that being said, when you're working with white folks, if they're not coming into it with that same mind frame, then you can't really work with them white folks. Because like, I'm not here for a reformist ideology. And I know they not either. We're not here to, wait for breadcrumbs from the system. I understand that at some point you gotta have incremental gains, and you do what you gotta do to get those incremental gains. But overall, that's not what we're here for. We're not here for police reform, or we're not here to not use intentional language. When you come to one of our meetings, we don't call the police the police. The Black Panthers called the police fastest pigs, so we call them fastest pigs. If the Panthers wasn't wrong, we ain't wrong. So that's how I look at it, you know what I mean? And you just have to have, that intentional studying and an intentional, even if you ain't gonna pick up a book every day and break down different people's political philosophy, you have to have some knowledge of it. You can't insert yourself into this work just for the quotables that look good and sound good and feel good. One of the gang-banging brothers in the streets told me, yo, y'all need to stop saying no justice, no peace. Because y'all say that shit, but afterwards y'all peaceful as hell when there ain't no justice. You know what I mean? So he's like, don't say that around us, because when we say no justice, no peace, if we ain't get no justice, we going to get the choppers. So just, understanding that these phrases and these terms and these chants aren't just that. These are things that people develop with a severe intentionality. And when we work with white folks, we try to make them have that same intentionality about coming into the space. And as a white ally, also, if your ass ain't went to jail, you might not be my ally. Like if a white ally ain't got no charges and isn't in a position of turmoil with the system, then they might not be my ally, because black people naturally have positions of turmoil with the system. We can't take that off. It increases and intensifies when you come out and say, hey, I am fighting for black liberation. Without black liberation, I still got charges. I still gotta fight shit. So if a white ally comes into the space, they're gonna have to fight the same shit I'm fighting, or we ain't in the same fight.
Let's get another question.
What are your goals and your dreams for the movement?
Question was, what are your goals and dreams for the movement?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily dream where the movement is concerned, because I feel like this is shit that we got to do, and if we do our, like Tev said, if we do our jobs right, the little homies like that are already around us always are gonna pick up when I get too old to be out there doing whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. So I don't really think I dream about it, because for me it's fact. Like, this is the stuff that we got to do, and this is the stuff that we're gonna get done. And so if you understand that your liberation is directly related to my liberation, then that question should be synonymous. Like, what I have to say, what my move is for the movement, it should be our move for the movement, because nobody is liberated in here until Black folks are liberated. So, and if you're really about liberation, like, you understand that and you know that. And when you say Black liberation, like, people have different ideas about what that even is. So Black liberation for some folks means, like, I can go to school, I can go to college, I can get a degree, I can come out and get a job. For me, Black liberation is the end of systematic racism. So that's cool that your cousin got a scholarship and can go, to an Ivy League and is gonna be a doctor, but is that something that across the board is an equitable opportunity for all people? Until that is the truth, until everyone has equitable opportunities, then Black liberation is not one, then no one's liberation is one. So that's my goal for the movement, is for folks to have equitable opportunities across whomever, whatever.
Another question. So let's go up here, and then we'll come to the back.
All right. Hi, I'm glad to hear you guys. My question is, you look back 2 years. Where are you guys next week, next year, and 5 years from now?
That's something that we don't actually know what it looks like. The liberation the terror is speaking about is what we fighting and hoping for, and what we fighting to get to, but we've honestly never had that or experienced it, so we can't tell you what it look like, what it feel like, what it smell like, what it tastes like. We just know we gonna get there, and it's not gonna be the way that people want us to get there. It's not gonna be the way that look right. It's not gonna be the way that talk right. It's not gonna be the way that they put in history books. It's gonna be the way that we doing now. It's gonna be the way that's uncomfortable for the system. It's gonna be interrupting white supremacy, interrupting capitalism, interrupting those social prisons that we placed into. We don't know what it's gonna be. We just know that this shit right here ain't right. And we know we gotta do something to change it.
And then to piggyback off of what he said, I mean, reality, we're walking Black in America. So I can't tell you what's gonna happen next week. I can't tell you what's gonna happen next year, 5 years from now. At the moment, all of my teammates have pending charges. They could be actually ending up in jail. We just had D-Seals, our homeboy, he's deceased now. And that's all I can say. People are dropping dead in the street daily. And our people need to really understand what that means. This is not a fun game. This isn't trendy. This isn't like, oh, let me go to the protest, take pictures. Tef gets harassed daily by white supremacists, just like D-Seals did. I want people to understand the seriousness and the dangers of this game. So that's all I want to say. And he wants to say something too.
So what I envision, I think where we'll be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, is that, all right, so we are, in our city, at least, introducing a culture that says that this isn't okay. If I have to be quite frank, the one problem that I have with that question is that it's the same exact question that white supremacists ask me. And we don't ask that question of white political people when they have caveats about the system. We accept a certain portion of their analogy about it, and we even accept the emotional input about it. Claire McCaskill asked us that same exact question, and I know it for a fact that she's not working in our favor. But So that question for me sometimes is a question that says, all of this is all good, this is all fine and dandy, but what y'all gonna do? And we're doing it. We got programs implemented in our neighborhood. We have a books and breakfast program. We have a technology program where we teach young black people from the age of 16 to 35 how to code, build websites for black businesses. We've fed hundreds of thousands of people since this popped off. I ain't gonna say hundreds of thousands, thousands. We're trying to get to hundreds of thousands. But for us, we just picked up, like I said, it's not reinventing the wheel. We're plugging in where the story has already left off at. So we picked up a lot of the Panther programs and reinvented them for our neighborhood, our community, and our generation. And we're just trying to give the people that are coming up after us, the young people that are coming up after us, a pathway where they can plug in and not have to reinvent the wheel, because this isn't gonna be solved within our lifetimes, and we realize that. So we're not gonna come to a magical point within the next 30 years where black liberation is achieved. What we're doing is we're introducing a culture of resistance. So, and that's what we're doing, and that we will hope that you would join us in introducing that same culture in your communities as well.
Let's get one last question on the back. I know there's multiple hands. I'll check something on the phone while we're doing it, but let's get our sister's voice in. She's had her hand up for a while.
Hello. My name is Truth. I'm from San Diego, and it feels like I'm like looking in the mirror in some incidents. To some instance, because recently, September 27th, the police killed a black man in San Diego, El Con City to be exact, by the name of Alfred Alongo. And since day one, I was out there going live, being on the front line, losing jobs, losing friends and families, and and things of that nature. So that was not too long ago, so I'm still dealing with the aftermath of that and just living black in San Diego, all the shit that we feel every day. So I want to know from y'all, and I know y'all gonna keep it real because y'all keeping it real up there, like how do you move forward, like as far as like finding balance? Like I'm an artist as well, and I'm an activist in my community, so it's like tough. Sometimes I want to post on Facebook like fuck everything, and then sometimes I want to say, we got to make this music, and it's just like really tough. I feel like I'm in a state of battle with myself and how I really feel and how they want me to feel. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know from y'all, like how did you guys move forward, or how are you guys healing? Yeah.
You got to take time where you can take it and where you need to take it. Like when you need to take a break, and if you need to, and you don't, you're not any good to yourself or the community or anybody else. Also, there's a certain stigma that comes with, wait, I ain't see you at the last protest or whatever. Like, you ultimately are fighting for the liberation of your people, but you have to be alive to fight for the liberation of your people. Stress is a real thing that kills people. So you have to, didn't they legalize weed out here? Didn't they? Yeah, so you have to take, what are we talking about? So you just gotta, take your time when you need to take your time. Do not make people don't let people allow you to feel guilty about taking the time that you need to be impactful when you come back to your post, whatever that is. Also understand that you are a black woman. You are resilient as fuck, and you can do anything. Like, you are the mother of civilization. So you can do anything. You are living for you to provide for your community. So if you're not good, the community not gonna be good. So yeah, just know that.
Also, I heard you say you was an artist. That's where majority of my healing come from. I like to pour out all my emotions, everything I'm going through into my artwork. Because my stress don't stop with just this movement shit. Like, most of my homies dead in jail in real time. You know what I'm saying? One of my closest homies just got locked up again, locked up a month ago. My little homie, I call him my little brother, I damn near raised him. He just got 25 years. In 2014, I went to 11 funerals. So I'm scared to answer my phone. In real life, because I don't know what it's gonna be when whoever on the other end of that call, what they got to say. So that art helps. I pour everything into my art. You know, if I'm not talking to somebody that I'm close to about it, is that pen and pad and going into their booth and giving people my reality.
Can y'all join me in appreciating?
Can I tell you something about the art
Oh,
too?
don't join me yet.
Nah, because this is valuable. Because I feel them. Because as artists, we went through some very depressing moments after Ferguson. Because people try to make you what they want you to be, right? And the most critical thing that somebody said to me was, "Don't let these people try to make you into Martin Luther King," right? And I hold that near and dear to my heart. So as an artist, you got the right to be an artist. You got talent. You got a gift. Lean into that gift. And don't be afraid. The number one problem, well, not number one problem, but one of the hugest problems that we as young black people encounter is people want to compartmentalize our identities. People want you to be, if you're going to be in the movement, you got to be in the movement. If you're going to be an artist, you got to be an artist. If you're going to be a preacher, you got to be a preacher. When in reality, you being black, you carrying all that anyway on a daily basis, right? And like Dub just said, your art is your healing space. And the world needs your art. So don't be afraid to do it. If anything, do prioritize your art. Like, please prioritize your art. You're doing us all a drastic disservice if you don't.
Now join me in appreciating our loved ones from St. Louis. Come on, let's appreciate them and thank them for sharing their heart. And y'all don't get out of here. All right. So I'll take a deep breath, let it out. So I want to give us, because I know a lot of us are organizers, talkers, some of us clergy, some of us just concerned people full of values. I want to give you just a quick 2 to 3 minutes at your table to just get out whatever it is you got to get out, because some of y'all are going to explode. If I don't give you a chance to get it out, you're going to go outside and yell at the wall or have a conversation with yourself. So let's take about 3 minutes around the table and just those who are bursting, do whatever it is that y'all need to do. 3 minutes around the table to just engage with one another. We'll be right back.